Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Today in the rLounge, what happens when emotionally mature women dare to set boundaries and the people around them absolutely lose their minds? It's time to talk about why setting limits feels like setting off emotional fireworks and what to do when people only show up when they want something. Up first, friendship goals? More like ghosts of friendship past. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my best friend use the nail studio I built from scratch after she hijacked my birthday trip and replaced me? This might get long, but there's a lot of context, and I really need to know if I was out of line or just finally standing up for myself. I'm a 19-year-old woman living in Philly. I've been emancipated since I was 15. Long story short, my home life was unstable, and after a year of bouncing between couches and school counselors advocating for me, I took control of my own life. At 16, I got full responsibility for my little brother, who's 10 now. I've basically been raising him since, and every dollar I make supports us both. No parents in the picture, no family handouts, just grit, prayer, and ambition. I started my own nail business 2 months ago. In my house at first. Just recently I bought my own studio. Not a booth, not a shared space, a full-on private studio with branding, licensing, my own chair, booking system, the works. It's small but clean, cozy, and aesthetically me. I saved for nearly a year, from Applebee's and little side jobs to reselling clothes. I taught myself acrylics, worked part-time jobs, and built a following on TikTok and Instagram. I've had weeks where I make 1,000 to 2,000 in straight appointments, and I'm proud of that. My regulars come from all over Philly just to get sets by me, and I pour love into everything from the cuticle oil to the Spotify playlists. Now enter my former best friend. We'll call her Maya. We've been friends since the end of 8th grade. I used to stay over at her place when things got bad at home. We bonded hard and fast, and for years, she's been my twin. My best friend lived in Mercer, so Maya was one of the few I could rely on. We'd talk on FaceTime till 3 a.m., made vision boards together, cried over boys together. She even helped me design the logo for my studio. It's always been ride or die. Until recently. Back in April, I started planning a birthday trip for my 20th. I turned 20 this November, and I wanted to celebrate somewhere fun. After years of surviving, I finally had the ability to actually live. I picked Miami, locked down the Airbnb, booked my flight, and created a full itinerary with spa days, jet ski options, a rooftop dinner, and booked activities. It was going to be 5 girls, including Maya, and I fronted the entire deposit under the agreement that they'd pay me back in installments. Maya swore she was good for it. But in late May, Maya started getting close with a girl named Liv, a social media baddie, as Liv refers to herself, who just screams mess. Suddenly she's posting acrylic captions, going on weekday brunches, and calling Liv her twin flame. I didn't care at first, friends grow, whatever, but she started brushing me off, skipping our calls, acting shady about the trip anytime I asked her if she'd sent her portion for the Airbnb. It was always, "Oh, I'll tell you next week," or "waiting for a brand deal to clear." 2 weeks ago, I opened Instagram. Maya's in Miami. Same Airbnb, same activities, with Liv. She posted a boomerang clinking glasses on a rooftop bar I literally had in our original itinerary, the one that I made. I DM'd her, asking if this was some kind of sick joke. Her reply, "Girl, I figured the trip wasn't even happening anymore. You've been focused on your business, and I didn't want to pressure you. Liv already had plans, so I tagged along. Sorry you're mad." When I tell you my flabbers were gasted, then, and I swear I cannot make this up, 4 days ago she texted me asking if she can use my nail studio to host her new lash brand's launch party. Apparently, the venue she had fell through last minute, and she wanted to do something authentic and cute. She told me, "Your studio would be perfect. It's super light. I'll clean up after. We'll tag your brand too." I said no. I told her point blank that after the way she handled the trip, I no longer felt comfortable offering my space, especially one she had zero interest in supporting lately. She replied with this long paragraph about how she always knew I'd switch up once I started making money, and that I was letting ego and fake business boundaries ruin our sisterhood. Mind you, this is the same sister who used to ask me for $10 to buy press-ons before I had my studio. The same one who called me crying after her situationship ghosted her, and I sent Uber Eats to her apartment. Now our mutual friends are split. Some say I was petty, that I could have just let her use the space for 2 hours. Others, especially the ones who've had similar fallouts, say I was way too nice, even answering her text. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my best friend use the nail studio I built from scratch after she hijacked my birthday trip and replaced me? Because honestly, I'm tired of being the emotionally responsible, and while everyone else plays victim one, boundaries go up. Edit. Let me clarify some things. I am licensed. I graduated high school early, 11th grade. I was 16, almost 17. I went to cosmetology school. By the state, if you are emancipated, they pay for your schooling and housing. The legal age to become a licensed nail tech is 16 in Philadelphia. There are a whole bunch with businesses that age too. It is very much possible for me to be a licensed nail tech. Yes, I did complete my hours and I found my studio at a cheap price. It wasn't like it was $400K. I make a good amount of money and did before becoming an official nail tech. Also, back in high school when I started practicing nails, it is possible. I bought those Temu and Amazon sets and materials and started practicing on my friends. This was around early 10th grade. I took pictures and started promoting myself then. I'm also really good at art, so the only part that I had to master then was the acrylic, which I did in 11th grade. I did go and learn more things in cosmetology school. You can never know enough, and I only know how to do certain things. I completed my hours and eventually got my certification. This was a little over 3 months ago, and officially started my business. Please as well note that I am a human being, so if you have nothing nice to say, please don't say it. If this post dissatisfies you, then please downvote and move on with your day. That being said, I appreciate everyone for their help, and I wish you a great day. Update. So after Maya texted it asking to use my studio for her lash brand launch, after ditching me for the Miami trip I planned on for later on, I told her I wasn't comfortable with it. I didn't yell, didn't drag her, just calmly said no. She didn't take it well. I called her yesterday and asked her to meet with me later on at a cafe. When we did meet and her lash event came up, she hit me with a guilt trip. I thought you'd support me like I've always supported you. You're really going to let money come between us? It's just a few hours. I'll clean up after. I let her talk. Then I said, if you want to use the studio, it's $750 for the evening, plus a $200 cleaning deposit. That's my standard rate. I don't do favors through guilt. Cheaper than what her share of the Miami trip was. She was stunned, tried to play it off like I was joking. Then she got defensive, said I was acting brand new since my business started doing well, that I used to be humble, that I wouldn't even have a studio if it weren't for her helping with the logo. I didn't take the bait. I just said, this is a business. You want to host a brand launch in a space I own that I built from scratch. You pay for it, just like everyone else. She tried to negotiate, offered $100 total, said she'd tag me on Instagram, maybe bring in new clients. I told her exposure doesn't pay rent. She said she'd think about it. So I left, leaving her with the bill. Later that night, she texted, okay, I'll pay the full amount. Send the contract. I replied, thanks. That's it. No emoji, no extra words, just thanks. Because here's the truth. Even though I'm sending a contract, she's not getting the space. She finally respected the value of what I built, but that doesn't mean she is entitled to it. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to explain myself again. I just needed her to understand that this studio isn't a favor. It's not a backdrop for someone who only sees my worth when it benefits her. It's the first thing I've ever owned that's truly mine, and I'm not handing it over to someone who treated me like an afterthought. I'm turning 20 in November. I've been raising my little brother since he was born. I've had weeks where I make more than people twice my age. I've survived things Maya couldn't even imagine. And now that I finally have peace, I'm protecting it. So yeah, she agreed to pay, but she's not getting the space, and I'm not the a-hole. Edit. I didn't sign it, and in print before the signature it says, I'm acknowledging that I will not actually be getting the space to use, and I consent to paying back every penny I owe from borrowing. It's also not small. It's very readable. So if she signs, she either agrees or just didn't read it, and it's not my problem. You're absolutely not the a-hole here. You set a clear and reasonable boundary after being deeply hurt by someone you considered family. You didn't yell, you didn't retaliate. You just said no. And that's more than fair. After everything you've been through, you've earned the right to protect the space you built with your own hands. Your studio isn't just 4 walls and a chair. It's your livelihood, your peace, your symbol of survival and growth. And the moment she needed something from you, suddenly you're supposed to forget all of it for the sake of sisterhood? No. Real friends don't vanish when things get real. No, you're not out of line. You're just done being taken for granted. How do you deal with friends who only show up when they need something? Let us know in the comments below. Up next, they say you can't choose your family, but you can definitely choose when to pretend you didn't hear them. Never again will I cook for my mother-in-law after she did this. This is a tale of audacity, flabbergasting gall, and the biggest lack of self-awareness I have witnessed in my 23 years of life. I made this Reddit account just to share the story. In the past, mother-in-law, we'll call her Kathy, and I have a little history of pushing each other's buttons, but nothing too major. So when she was coming for a visit, my hubby and I were both excited. She was coming from my husband's home state with 9-year-old brother-in-law. We'll name him Stephen. 16-year-old sister-in-law, we'll call her Lily, and her mother, my hubby's grandma. I called Kathy the day before to confirm they were planning on eating dinner with us the night of their arrival. She confirmed. I then asked if chili and cornbread sounds good to her, since that was what I had planned to make for dinner. She said they loved my chili and cornbread and they would enjoy that. It's what I made the last time she came, so I knew it was a safe bet. When they arrived the next day, the meal was fresh and hot, all made from scratch and just how they liked it. When we sat down to family dinner, I noticed Kathy only put a few tablespoons of chili in her bowl. It struck me as odd because I had spoken to her on the phone soon before they arrived, and she declared she was starving. I ignored this and went on enjoying my own meal. It was really good, by the way. A few minutes in, Stephen noticed the bottom of his cornbread was slightly discolored and had some blackened bits. I explained to him that it was okay, and that's what happens when you bake in cast iron. He refused to eat another bite. Instead of Kathy correcting her son to stop being rude, she told him it's okay, and they'll just go get a Burger King. She got up and asked who wanted to go. Grandma and Lily both said they were coming, got up and followed Kathy out the door, leaving their dinner unfinished on the table. To add insult to injury, they brought the food back and ate it in front of us. Hubby and I stared at each other in disbelief, too uncomfortable to say anything because of the battling nature of the situation. We couldn't even be mad. We were too crippled with secondhand embarrassment. When we had a moment alone, my husband profusely apologized on behalf of his family, mortified by their disrespect. He said he understood if I never offered to cook for them again, he would never ask me. I never got an apology from her, even when hubby confronted her over the phone after she stormed out of the house and went back home a day early. Another bit of nonsense for another post. That was 3 years ago, and I haven't cooked for them since. It now gives me a petty little tingle whenever they come visit and comment on their limited budget and how expensive going out to eat is. Update. Here's a part 2 of my visit with mother-in-law. We will call Kathy. Ruined with her weird and entitled behavior. This is a long one, so buckle up, buttercups. Here's some context. Even while dating my husband, I knew Kathy was a piece of work. She was invasive, overbearing, and dramatic. Hubby still lived with her at the time, so I got to experience some of her antics and realized I needed to be gentle with her. We'll put it that way. My usual no-nonsense personality did not mesh well with her overly sensitive and dramatic yet narcissistic one. Basically, she can dish it, but she can't take it type of thing. She is diagnosed bipolar and refuses to medicate herself. She listens to all kinds of crunchy doctors say how psych meds are harmful and how we need to heal ourselves with lifestyle changes. So she won't take the meds but also eats a Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, and microwaves bagged and boxed food every day. She doesn't seem to realize the stress she invents for herself and everyone else is a way more harmful than her meds would be. One major thing that happened after we were married was when we had our first child. She traveled 500 miles to the hospital where I had the baby. Mind you, she was invited, as I wasn't experienced in childbirth, and I didn't know better. Never again. I was in labor over 40 hours with no sleep, dehydrated and throwing up for hours by the time I gave birth. I didn't even want to hold my baby. I just wanted to sleep. I was in horrible stabbing pain from breastfeeding because the baby had a lip and tongue tie. I was dissociated, exhausted, and traumatized. When Kathy came, all was fine at first. She rocked the baby and visited with hubby. She saw what a state I was in and tried to offer advice, even while I was breastfeeding in the first few hours. She tried to insert herself with tips and suggestions, even though she was never able to breastfeed herself. I was crying, in pain, frustrated, and fed up. I snapped at her to please go sit down, and I don't need one more person telling me what I'm doing wrong. She got quiet. The rest of the time she was there, she hardly said a word. After she left, she called my husband to complain about how she had been treated and that she felt like we didn't even notice her when she came, and she felt excluded. Hubby, who had also been awake for several days at this point, tried to get her to see reason. She was inserting herself in a situation she had no business giving advice in. Everyone was exhausted and frustrated, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. She refused to see it from our side, as narcissists do, and cried that she should never have come and we didn't value her. All that to say, this has been a normal part of our relationship with Kathy, and we've gotten used to it. I put up with it for my husband's sake because he still loves his mother and wants to be loved by her as most of us do. Now for the tea at hand. I described in my previous post how Kathy excused herself from a home-cooked meal I made to go get fast food. This next event took place the next evening. We were all relaxing in the living room. Kathy, 9-year-old brother-in-law, 16-year-old sister-in-law, and my hubby's grandma were there. We were going to watch a Christmas movie and eat popcorn to relive one of my husband's childhood traditions. Our 6-month-old baby was crawling around, as infants do, went over to the door and found a leaf in the ground that blew in. Kathy lost it. She told us we were horrible parents for letting our son crawl on the floor, and that if we weren't holding him, he needed to be in a playpen. I went and got the leaf from him before he put it in his mouth. Hubby and I just ignored Kathy because what she said was just stupid. Later, the baby was crying for no apparent reason while Kathy was holding him, which me and hubby both knew from experience just meant he was tired and wanted to be laid in his crib. Kathy started freaking out, exclaiming there was something wrong with him. She kept saying he must be gassy or in pain, or have a hair wrapped around his toe. We calmly explained that this is just what he does when he wants to go to sleep, and he's fine. She refused to listen and kept telling us to figure out what it was wrong. We gently told her no, and that we were putting the baby to bed. She wouldn't give us the baby. Hubby finally raised his voice a little and said, "Just put the baby down." She went silent. Her eyes were wide as marbles, but her pupils shriveled up into pinholes. After we laid the baby down for bed, we all sat down and started the movie. About 10 minutes into it, Kathy abruptly stood up and said, "All right, y'all, get your stuff. We're leaving." The others looked confused and irritated, but got their stuff and went out to the car. My husband asked her what she meant and where she was going. She turned her nose up and just said she was going home now. She grabbed her bag and didn't even give any of us hugs goodbye before storming off to the car. Me and hubby stared at each other, dumbfounded. He looked at me and asked what just happened. He was so confused and hurt by his sudden change. What made it even worse was that his grandma is his favorite person in the world, and this visit was the first time she got to meet and spend time with our little son. To see them go a whole day earlier than planned was heartbreaking for him. He called her several times before she finally answered, and he tried to ask again what was wrong. She avoided his question, saying that home is far away and she was just getting homesick and needed to start out early. After more prodding from hubby, she started bawling that he didn't value her, and she was better off at home where she belonged, and all kinds of other nonsense. Hubby looked so drained when he hung up the phone. I hugged him to try to offer some comfort. He teared up a little and expressed to me his confusion and hurt at what just happened. We ran through every scenario and conversation of that night to pinpoint what had caused this and concluded it was simply us telling her no. In that moment, hubby understood fully his mother's insanity. He decided he would never again have his mother travel to visit us unless her husband, his stepdad, was there. He's the only one who is even slightly capable of managing her. These times with stepdad, and there hasn't been another outright embarrassing scene. When there inevitably is another one, however, I will be back with the tea. Thanks for reading these stories and hoped they offered you some entertainment. Love this community. The hospital visit? Ugh. That's the last place anyone needs someone inserting themselves and offering advice, especially when you're exhausted, in pain, and just trying to survive the moment. The fact that she made your husband's first days as a dad harder too? Unreal. And then she felt left out? Ma'am, it's not about you. What's the rudest thing a family member has done while visiting your home? Share your stories with us below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.